Yeah. Flies. Right. Turn the camera on. Hey guys, Technique Gaming. What I'm gonna do for the next half hour to an hour, I'm actually gonna do a reacting video to creepy as fuck videos. But first, before we do anything like that, let's go make a coffee. And yes, I'm a coffee person. And the time now is actually late. So I don't know how long it'll take for this video to upload, but yeah. So, like my door is on its edges too. So yeah. So let's get that. Yeah, you're looking at the ceiling while I make myself a brew. Water. I need more water. So yeah, for the next half an hour, it's going to be watching, well, you'll be listening to creepy as fuck videos. It'll be basically the same because there's only pictures on the videos. And yeah. Yep, great coffee, but cheap for a pound. So yeah, bargain. So while that's boiling, I will get a video up on YouTube and let's start reacting to it. Just need to check something. Yeah, I definitely need a fucking haircut. YouTube. Bloody awesome. Quick shout out, Freedom Partnership. Fucking brilliant, guys. They're so fucking brilliant. If you want to fucking get partnered with them, in the description below, once it's finally uploaded, I will put a link below on that to basically, hey, who fucking cares? We're doing it, to be honest. Right. There's nothing even on here. So, what the actual fuck? Dreaming, nothing, bubbles, beam. That's fucking stupid. Right, stuff it. Like, there's one person who I want to give another shout out to, and that's Chills, because his videos, he gets stories from, say, Reddit or something like that, or real life stories, and what he does, he basically reads them all out. So at the end of the day, the one that we will watch first actually is 5 Scary Basement Horror Stories, because I want to watch that one. At the moment I'm on 5 Scary Attic Horror Stories, but I'm on number 3. So I might watch the rest of that and then watch the Basements one. So, fuck the shit I'm on. I hate people. I hear people outside my house. And I don't like it when I hear people outside my house. And those bastard! Twat. Burnt myself with the kettle. in the hot water, and that was my ankle. Don't ask why I'm a weird bastard. But a saying that I've always said, it's better being weird than trying to be normal. And ignore the fucking wallpaper. Oh yeah, let's have fruit as wallpaper. Fruit as a wallpaper does not work properly. The fuck are you? Stupid as fuck fly. Did not notice that. Get my coffee up there. So yeah, let's carry on listening to these attic ones, and let's see what my reactions are. Because first two, even though I'm on number 3, yeah. So.
Summary about the house's details, history, accompanying property, etc. Of all the years I lived in that house, none of us really cared for the history, and the agent who sold us the house never really mentioned it. We were too awestruck by the great deal, so out of a newfound curiosity, I started researching the property. It seemed relatively normal. One odd thing is, however, the previous owner's husband had disappeared, and after authorities searched for him for months, he was presumed dead. The wife and her teenage daughter were distraught and could no longer stay in the house where they once lived together as a family. That's when they moved out and we moved in. I decided that after I finished the write-up, I would research the previous owners just a little bit more. After about 3 hours, I finished up what I thought was a quality summary and emailed it to Mom and Dad. Then I decided to do a little research on my own. You heard the previous owner's story, but the previous owner's story and the previous owner's story I found to be a little more fruitful and frightening. The property was originally a farm, settled on around 1895. The farm was expansive and successful. The family owned the farm for many years, until around 1934, during the Great Depression. In order to keep a steady stream of income, the farmer who owned the land leased and sold most of his property. Funny thing is, the people who would buy the property or use it always either ended up dead or missing, under mysterious circumstances every time. No witnesses would be present, as everyone on site would be either dead or, as previously stated, missing. I started turning to the farmer's daughter, Maggie. Maggie had grown up on the property and thought of selling the property was the most awful thing she could think of. Unable to face the harsh reality of the severe depression, she was the only one of the family that protested selling or leasing any of the land, and that was made very clear to buyers. Police interviewed her parents, all of whom had said she'd been acting very strange, isolating herself to her room for long hours, skipping out on meals, typical teenage rebellion thing. Turns out, upon reviewing the evidence and searching Maggie's room, they found several items associated with old-timey black magic. Unable to make an arrest for witchcraft, the police had no further evidence that she was guilty of or associated with the murders of the property buyers and leaseholders. The family sold the farm in 1950. Maggie had long since passed away. The house came under new ownership, and the house was completely remodeled. By this time, only 5 of the original 300 acres remained with the main house. The main house is the house that my family ended up in. In 1951, the owners of the house, including their 7 and 10-year-old children, were reported missing. Police documents stated that, upon entry, the house smelled of rotten eggs, blood, and smoke, the sources of which could not be found in the lower levels of the house or the basement. Upon performing a thorough search of the house, the last place left was the attic. Here the bodies of the entire family were found, including the children. They had been mutilated beyond recognition,
Shit.
so badly that the images were not released for public viewing. No suspect was found, and no witnesses were present. The murder remains unsolved to this day. Needless to say, the house was put back up on the market and resold multiple times.
Fucking
The
hell.
owners up until our family had all experienced strange noises and moved out fairly quickly.
You're gonna hear a bang in a
1
second.
year, 2 or 3 years the longest, besides
Fucking
our family having stayed for 5 years. All of these residents had
wankers.
no odd
I'm
experiences
fucked
other
for
than the
that.
strange noises or the sense of being watched. Then the previous owner's husband went missing. I
Bastard.
got curious as to what the attic looked like today. I returned home to visit for the weekend, and while my parents were out grocery shopping, I told my sister, now 17, about the history I had found. You know I'm all about this creepy shit, she said, and we have to go to the attic. Although I was
Why
tempted
the
to
attic?
convince her
Why is it always the
otherwise,
fucking
I was
attic?
too curious to deny her request. We went upstairs in the attic. What we found is why there was next a Roman cohort's worth of authorities parked in my yard. All these years we had never looked in that attic, and apparently neither had police when they were in search of the previous owner's husband. That's where we found him. There was the body. It was just bones by this time, and the forensics team told us that they were surprised we didn't notice the smell during the initial stages of decay when we first moved in. I was surprised too, because upon entering the attic, we were greeted with a rather awful stench. As the two who originally discovered the bodies, and with me being a criminal justice major with heavy ties to our local PD, they allowed my sister and I to see the official report and evidence gathered. According to official reports, the victim had suffered blunt trauma prior to the murder. She had knocked him out. There were, upon closer examination, bloodstains leading to the ladder of the attic. She had dragged him up to the attic, all by herself. Near the body were candles, bowls filled with strange ingredients, and other strange books and artifacts. Autopsy revealed that the victim had suffered severe lacerations to all of his limbs, as well as his face and genitalia.
Oh,
The bowls were printed,
fuck
and
that.
no prints were able to be lifted.
No thanks.
The victim was tested, and he was confirmed to be the previous owner's husband, as everyone very well knew already. The previous owner was now a prime suspect, but no one could contact her. The murder had taken place close to 15 years ago. Her whereabouts, her condition, and her intentions were and are still unknown. I was dumbfounded that we had been living in a house with a dead guy just upstairs, and we never knew. I got curious yesterday and researched the previous owner. Eventually, I found her in Images, a newspaper from when the case was still hot. When I saw her face, my jaw dropped. Remember all of the research I did on the house's history? Well, images of all of the owners were included in that search, including one of Maggie when she was about 20 years old. The picture was dated 1941. Maggie, who was supposed to have passed away in an automobile accident in 1947. Maggie, whose face I was now staring at on my computer screen. Why did she do it? Was she making a sacrifice or something? I know it was her. There was no denying it. I know she killed the other owners as well, or used her dark magic or something to harass them out of the house. She was a witch. How could she live to be that old but look so young? Was she still killing owners of her old property? What kind of supernatural help had she enlisted to aid her in her killing spree? And most importantly,
Oh my
where
God.
is she now? Number 4. First things first. This is my first time ever visiting this website. I never even knew it existed before this morning. I was directed to this forum by a friend of mine who said this would be a perfect place to share my story. It's a story about a box that I found in my attic. A little backstory about my home, built in 1954, having one previous owner. It sits basically in the middle of nowhere, in a quiet town of about 100 people. The closest property to me is approximately 1 mile away. I bought this house because I wanted to get away from all the big city madness that I had been living in for the past 35 years. I've lived in the house for roughly 3 years now, just me and my dog. I live quite the lonely life, but I'm fine this way. I wouldn't have it any other. So the other day, I was up in my attic fetching some summer patio furniture that I had up there. It's a pretty creepy space, no lights, very tight and narrow, and basically a hot box. I do not like being up there one bit.
Sorry about the
Just gives me
silence, it's because I'm
heebie-jeebies.
trying to listen to
I got my
this,
furniture
but
out
at
of
the end
there as
of the
quick
day,
as possible and
I'm trying
scurried
to
on out
find
of there.
what to react
But not
to
before I
on
tripped
it,
over something on my way out. It was
yeah.
a box. I've never seen this box before. It was this rusty old metal box that was locked shut with a padlock. It was not anything of mine that I had owned or put up there. Kinda baffled me, but I figured maybe it was something left behind by a previous owner that I had never seen before.
Fuck.
I take the box outside and decide to attempt to pry it open. It was pretty heavy. I shook it a couple of times, and it just felt like a brick in there.
Fucking fly.
I took a saw to the lock and finally got it open after about 10 minutes. Inside the box, it was literally just a brick, but attached to the brick was a letter, which read the following: "Hello there, friend, you found my brick. It doesn't belong to you though, so put it back where you found it." I just kind of laughed for a minute and thought that's kind of weird. I didn't put it back though. I actually threw it outside behind my garage and scrapped the box. Fast forward to later that evening. I was sitting in my living room when all of a sudden I hear a loud crash in the kitchen. I go over to check it out, frightened as hell, and see that my kitchen window had been smashed. Shards of glass all over the floor, and a brick laying there. It had a note attached to it, and it said, "This is what happens when you don't put things back where they belong. Get the fuck out." I'm totally freaking out at this point. I never even told a single person about the brick I found in my attic. I had no explanation. Mind-boggling. I went outside to see if there was anyone around, but it was literally dead silence. As I live in the middle of nowhere, no footsteps, car engines, anything. Meanwhile, my dog is back in the house, barking at the stairs that go up to the attic. What the fuck? I'm really bugging. Do I dare go up there? It's creepy enough as it is. Don't know what to do, so I call a buddy of mine over. Waited outside till he got there, and we both go up there together. We both have our flashlights and are peeking around to see if we can see anything, when all of a sudden I see a note tacked to the wall that said, "Put my brick back." So freaking paranoid. I stayed at my buddy's house for the weekend and plan to go back in the morning. Number 5. When I was younger, just on the cusp of being a teenager, my sister and I were in the attic. We were hunting for some old toys we had stored up there that we wanted to pull out and give a run for their money. It was a simply designed attic, old floorboards, steepled roof, everything bare to the eye. That's why it was so bizarre when we noticed the small cubby door on one of the walls, logically leading to what would have been the outside of the building. Being the curious creatures we were, we just had to open it. The long and narrow crawl space we discovered defied imagination. How was it possible for it to be there? It violated everything our young minds knew about space and architecture, and so I ran off to get my dad while my sister stayed and watched it just to make sure it did not disappear while I was away. When I came back with him, he was just as stunned as we were with the discovery. After pondering it for a short while, we all knew there was really not any choice. We had to know what was in there. Getting down on our hands and knees, we went inside to investigate the seeming impossibility. We found more attic, the same decor, just more walls, and a much, much larger space, filled with shelves and storage containers. It was utterly fascinating that it was filled with all manners of things, art, tools, appliances. We wondered how it had all gotten there. Some of it could have not even been physically brought in, unless it had been built from scratch in that space, or the building was erected around it, such as a matching washer and dryer. But even stranger yet was that my father began to recognize the things stored there, things he had lost. things he had thrown away over the years, renewed and in prime condition. These were his things from the years of his life. It was amazing. We vowed to come back in the morning and remove everything we could because there was so much history, nostalgia,
Noisy
and genuinely
bastards
useful objects
outside.
held there. The next day came,
Wanker.
and for some reason, we all seemed just far too busy to go back.
Yeah,
We'll be there
like I
tomorrow, we
said,
all
sorry about the
said.
silences
And the
because
next day, and the day after that,
it's one of them
we
things.
barely even thought about it, as it slipped away from our minds like a fog. Before too long, only a few weeks out, I was convinced I had dreamed the entire thing, and no one spoke on it anymore. I did not even bother looking in the attic. That was how far removed from reality the idea was. Time passed, and my sister and I grew into our 20s. We both moved away, and she had kids of her own, both of us married. Unfortunately, tragedy struck, and my father fell ill. We both had to return to care for him and prepare his estate for the inevitable conclusion of his terminal disease. It probably comes as no surprise that this put us both in the attic again. Mainly, things needed to be organized and removed, and it probably comes as no surprise that when we were there, we stumbled across the same cubby door we had seen more than a decade prior, and in that instant, we looked at each other and remembered. We could see it in each other's eyes. We had both forgotten for no reason. We were determined to not let it go to waste again. I told my sister I was gonna go get some boxes so we could start moving things out, and she agreed to go inside and start gathering what she could to bring out. I had just left the attic when my phone rang. Answering it, my mother came on from the other side in hysterics. My father had just passed away. I went back to get my sister after hanging up, no longer concerned with pilfering the strange room, numb from shock. Except the door was gone. I stared at the wall where it had been, feeling the terror of betrayal. I began to scream and yell hysterically for my sister, but there was no answer. I clawed at the wall and took a hammer to it, only to eventually break through to the aluminum siding of the house, creating a hole I would later have to patch to sell the building. I had no idea what to do. I did not even think I could realistically call the police. I had no idea what to tell them. Eventually I gathered myself up and went to the hospital to be with the rest of my family, expecting them to ask where my sister was. They never did, not even her husband, ever. A few years have passed since then. Every once in a while, I see pictures of my sister around my house, and I remember that once upon a time, she existed. Sometimes I think I made her up, or that I'm misremembering a stranger's face in those old photos. No one ever came looking for her. No police, not her job. No one acknowledged she was missing. When I asked my mother, she would stare blankly at me, and after some prodding, slowly nod. She remembered, yes, I had a sister, and that was as interested as she got. My sister's husband gave me much the same reaction. He would ask me who I was talking about when I mentioned her name. Eventually, he would concede that he seemed to recall being married at some point, and his lack of conviction would make me think I made it all up. I probably did. Either way, he has a new girlfriend, and his children are calling her mom. They have never missed a beat, but sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night because I hear someone walking in my attic. I hear a voice I think I recognize, but I can't place who it belongs to anymore. She asks for me to help her, but I don't even know why I would be helping her, or what I'm helping her do. Either way, she's in the attic, and there is nothing in my attic, so it must be my imagination. I just wish I could stop hearing her voice after I wake up. Thanks for checking out this video. Please...
Right, actually, guys, because it's been 25 minutes, say, I'm going to end it here. Tomorrow, hopefully, I will do another... Well, try and do another reaction video, because this wasn't really much of a reaction. It's more me make a brew, me listen to a video, and then whatever you can. Well, what you can do, hit the subscribe button, hit the like, and comment what you want me to actually react to. Because I want to start doing some reaction videos. Let's go, hit whatever, Adios. Bye.